Last week, dates, venues, and groups were announced for the 2023 World Baseball Classic, not only for the main tournament, but also for the two qualifiers, which will take place in just 2 months. Today I want to talk about the qualifier teams. When it gets closer to the starting dates and team rosters are finalized, I'll do a preview for the event. The purpose of this video is to look at what each of these countries have accomplished since the last WBC qualifier 6 years ago, what kind of players we can expect each country to bring, how baseball is doing domestically within their countries, and what level of talent they've been producing. I'll compare the countries in each of these areas so you can get an idea who the favorites and the underdogs are, though we won't know for sure until we know exactly who's playing for them. A little information in case you missed it. 12 teams are split into two 6-team qualifiers. The top 2 teams from each qualifier advance to the WBC next March, joining the 16 teams that appeared in the last edition of the WBC in 2017. Pool A qualifier will take place from September 16th to the 21st at the Armin Wolf Arena in Regensburg, Germany. The 6 teams are Germany, the Czech Republic, Spain, France, Great Britain, and South Africa. The Pool B qualifier will be from September 30th to October 5th at Estadio Nacional Radcuru in Panama City. The 6 teams are Panama, Nicaragua, Brazil, Argentina, Pakistan, and New Zealand. Let's start with Pool A. In the WBC qualifier in 2016, South Africa and Great Britain were the best performers out of these countries. South Africa beat New Zealand twice, but also lost to Australia twice, and was 1 win short of qualifying. Britain lost to Israel, easily beat Pakistan, upset Brazil, then lost to Israel again. Germany was winless. They lost a 1-run game to Nicaragua, then got blown out in a 12-run loss to the Czech Republic. The Czech team played well, losing to Mexico and Nicaragua, both games by 1 run. Spain went 0-2, losing to Colombia and France. The French team lost to Panama, beat Spain, then lost to Panama again. We can't really draw any conclusions from the last qualifier. Not a big difference between their performances, and it was 6 years ago. Let's look at what they've done since then. 5 of these 6 countries are in Europe, so naturally they see a lot of each other. The last time was the 2021 European Baseball Championship. Spain was the highest finisher among them, placing 4th behind Netherlands, Israel, and Italy, 3 countries that automatically qualify for the WBC. Czech Republic was right behind them at number 5. Great Britain, number 6. Germany had a bad tournament, finishing a disappointing 9th. France, even worse, at number 15. The last time South Africa played with these countries was at the 2020 Africa-Europe qualifier for the Olympics. Britain, France, and Germany did not make it to this event, having failed to finish in the top 5 of the 2019 European Championship. The Czechs were 3rd, Spain 4th, South Africa was winless and finished last, and none of their games were really close. The Czech team was responsible for Israel's only loss, and Israel ended up going to the Olympics. So when looking at the international tournaments of the last few years, Spain and Czech Republic are looking pretty good. Great Britain, mixed. Germany, disappointing. France, pretty bad. South Africa, only 1 tournament, but they looked awful in it. More recently, a club championship known as the European Cup took place, as it does every year. This is a club championship, so not all of the players come from those countries, but most of them do. The top tournament included 2 teams from the Netherlands, 2 from the Italian League, 2 from Germany, and 2 from the Czech Republic. Clubs from Spain and France competed in a lower tournament, which was won by the French team. South Africa, being on a different continent, does not compete in the European Cup and wouldn't do well anyway. Their domestic league lags behind most of the European leagues. Most of that country's talent can be found abroad, something I'll get into in just a minute. When comparing domestic leagues, the Czech and German teams have done much better recently than those from other countries, and just from watching those 2 leagues you can see that they are among the top 4 in Europe, along with the Dutch and Italian leagues. But while all 6 countries will use players from their own leagues to fill up their rosters, the very best players in this tournament will come from abroad. As I mentioned before, South Africa doesn't have much for a league of its own, but they've got good talented athletes playing all over the world. Just after the last WBC in 2017, we saw the first South African-born player reach the major league level. Infielder Gift Ngope, now 32, played 2 seasons at the major league level, 3 winters in the Australian League, and a lot of time in AAA. In 2019, pitcher Taylor Scott became the 2nd South African to play in MLB, and a year later, the 1st in NPB. The bad news for South Africa is that Scott is now back in MLB with the Padres, so probably will not be available for the qualifier. Dylan Unsworth is a starting pitcher in the Mexican League. Tyler Smith is one of the best hitters in the Czech League, so they've got some talent out there to lead this team. Germany will be without its best player, Max Kepler, who is an active Major League player. Former Major League player Donald Lutz is only 33 and was just playing in Australia 2 years ago. Marcus Solbach is pitching in AAA Toledo of the Detroit Tigers organization, one of a few Germans in the Major League system. No Czech players have reached the Major League level, but one of them came close. Catcher Martin Cervenka played in AAA of the New York Mets organization last year, playing in the Czech League this year. Wojciech Mensik is a young infield prospect in Single A of the LA Angels system. Other Czech players can be found playing college ball in the U.S. Spain, Britain, and France lag behind in this area, but they can make up for it in the next area. Import players. Players that did not grow up in those countries, but through some ancestral connection are eligible to play. Spain, as you can imagine, has been able to find a number of players from Latin America that are eligible to play for Spain. The Spanish team that finished 4th in last year's European Championship used only 2 players from Spain. The rest came from the Caribbean. Britain and France can use players in North America. Which ones and how many, it's hard to tell without looking at every minor league player's family tree. But it's probably safe to assume that Britain would enjoy a bigger advantage here, not only from the British connection to North America, but also to certain former colonies. Players from the Bahamas, for example, are eligible to play for the British team. So if Britain qualifies for the WBC, Jazz Chisholm could suit up for them. Germany, in fact, can do the same thing, and they would have the advantage of having some of the best domestically produced talent in Europe and a large population of Germans in North America to draw from. The Czech team, on the other hand, would be at the biggest disadvantage here. In conclusion, the French team looks like the weakest. Going into the scheduled qualifier in 2020, I said they had the advantage of being the best coached when Bruce Bochy was running the team, but he has since stepped down. Germany looks like they should be the favorite, but it hasn't been showing the last couple international tournaments. South Africa's got some great talent at the top, but may not look so good from top to bottom. Czech Republic looks good, but the players in their own country may not be enough. Spain and Britain can win it, but it all depends on what kind of players they can find. Alright, now let's look at the Pool B teams. The first thing you notice is the 2 countries at the top. Panama and Nicaragua have a long history with baseball. Panama has produced Hall of Famers Rod Carew and Mariano Rivera. Dennis Martinez came from Nicaragua. Both countries have active major league players right now. Brazil doesn't have as much history with baseball, but is a rising power, where a few major league players such as Yan Gomes have come from in the past decade. But there will be no active major league players in this tournament, and the past doesn't win anything for you. Panama came so close to qualifying for the 2017 WBC. They beat France twice, but lost both times to Colombia. Both games were close, and they lost the last one by the score of 2-1. Colombia then went on to make a great run in the big tournament. Nicaragua also reached the finals of their qualifier with wins over Germany and Czech Republic, but they weren't even close against Mexico, losing both times by 11 runs. Brazil beat Pakistan, then lost a pair of 1-run games to Israel and Great Britain. New Zealand picked up 1 win over the Philippines but couldn't get past South Africa. Pakistan lost to Brazil and Great Britain by a combined score of 24-0. For Argentina, this will be their first WBC qualifier. Since then, Nicaragua's national team has been impressive. They took the bronze at the 2019 Pan American Games, placing ahead of Colombia, Dominican Republic, and Cuba. This qualified them for the Baseball Americas Olympic qualifier, where they finished 3rd in their group, behind the USA and Dominican Republic, ahead of Puerto Rico. At the Under-23 Baseball World Cup last year, Panama placed 5th out of 12 teams and got a head-to-head win over Nicaragua, which placed 7th. Those 2 countries are the only ones that have had any major success in international tournaments. The other 4 are here based on their regional success. Panama has a strong professional winter league. Active players from the major league system can be found there. The champion moves on to the Caribbean Series and competes against the strongest nations in the region. Nicaragua also has a professional winter league with minor leaguers and ex-major leaguers present. While it is not part of the Caribbean Series, it does have more stability. The Panamanian League canceled its season 2 years ago and played a reduced schedule last year, but the Nicaraguan League hasn't missed a beat. New Zealand has a team in the Australian Baseball League, which is on par with the Panamanian and Nicaraguan leagues, and about half the team's roster comes from New Zealand. But because of COVID, they haven't participated in the league since the 2019 to 2020 season. Brazil, Pakistan, and Argentina run amateur leagues. The one in Argentina just got up and running a few years ago. They fall well short of the talent level seen in the professional winter leagues I just mentioned. Now, what kind of players can we expect to suit up for these countries? Well, Panama will have a roster full of players from the major league system, or at least from its own winter league. Manny Acosta is one ex-big leaguer who could pitch for Panama. He was on the roster for the 2020 qualifier, but he's 41 now, not sure if he's still ready to go. Nicaragua will use mostly players from their own professional league, but will also include a few major league prospects. Infielder Cheslor Cuthbert is a former major league player they could use. He's only 29 and was just playing in AAA last year. Brazil has had 5 players reach the major league level in the past decade, but only one of them is still active. Will the other 4 suit up for Brazil? We'll have to wait and find out. Thiago Vieira is with the Yomiuri Giants now. He threw a 103-mile-an-hour fastball last summer. Not sure if the Giants will let him go to play in the qualifier, though. Paulo Orlando was hitting well in Mexico last year. Andre Rienzo just played in the Dominican League last winter. Luis Gohara hasn't played anywhere since 2018, but he's only 25. Maybe he can still throw. A few other Brazilians have played in Japan and Mexico recently. New Zealand has had a few players reach the lower levels of the minors. Daniel Lamb Hunt is a former Braves prospect. He's also played in the Australian League and now plays in Germany every summer. However, he's also a dual citizen of Germany and New Zealand, so it's not clear which country he'll represent. Argentina and Pakistan, as far as I can tell, don't have any players from higher level leagues in the world. Import players won't be used as much in Pool B as they will be in Pool A, but the country that could benefit the most from it seems to be Brazil. Dante Bichette Jr. has a Brazilian mother, so he'll probably take the field for them. Others like Bo Bichette and Dylan Lee will be eligible if Brazil makes it to the big tournament. So out of these 6 countries, Panama and Nicaragua have the best baseball programs, but Brazil may arguably have the most talented players from around the world, if they can get them all to participate. Any one of those 3 countries can make it. New Zealand looks like they're a few steps behind. They'll need some luck to qualify. Pakistan doesn't really have a chance here. It's the strongest country in West Asia, but as we saw in the last WBC qualifier, they just don't measure up against other qualifier teams. I don't think they expect to win either. If they lose by single digits, it'll be a victory for them. Argentina, I guess, is in the same category, though we've never seen them before, so they could bring an element of surprise. Maybe it'll be like Panama at the 2019 Caribbean Series all over again, but I doubt it. Like I said, this is not a preview. That will come out in September just before the qualifiers begin, and we know for sure what each team is bringing. Anyway, that's all for this one, and until next time, this is Baseball International. See ya.